Want to know real fast? Okay, cool, cool, cool. Let's stop for a second here. I'm going to get into the story of Anubis, what it has to do with Mayat in a second. I'll hold on the point. I'm taking too close. I'll hold on the point because there's another slide coming that I think will help me make this point. But let's talk about the story of Anubis. Anybody ever hear of Anubis? Who's Anubis?
I know it's got something to do with Egypt at the last one.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Anybody else? Who's Anubis? Yep.
Yeah, he's reading then. I think it has something to do with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anybody else? Cool, 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 cool. The story of Anu goes something like this. All right, this is my daughter. I talk to her every night. Her name is going to be Anubis, my aunt. I do. I talk to her. I play with her all the time. But in any event, the story of Anubis goes something like this. Basically, the story Anubis is a female-headed, and sometimes, depending on who you read or what you read, or how she's depicted sometimes a male-headed dog or jackal, right? And the purpose of Anu, her purpose is to clean death, and escort death to the arms of Maya. Right? That's the purpose of Anu. So the reason how they got to, before I continue with the story, how they got to using the jackal or the dog to represent Anu was this. Particularly after sandstorms in Egypt, right? You have jackals or hyenas that come out to feed on things that have died as a result of the sandstorms. But they don't necessarily in Egypt, particularly in the ancient Egyptian context, they didn't necessarily view or understand the hyena or the jackal as a bad animal, as a negative animal. No. Instead, it was understood as a necessary animal. As a necessary animal. It cleaned death up. That's what hyenas. That's their purpose. To take care of death. Right? So, in any event, what happens with Anu is this. Once you pass, Anu comes for your soul. She transports you over what's often referred to as the water of Styx, depending on what culture you're reading the story from. It's a very famous story that cuts across many indigenous communities across the world. Right? She takes your soul over something called the water of Styx, and then she takes you to Maya, who is a female. Mayat will take you. She'll take your soul. She'll place your soul on one end of a balance, as you can see in part with the left Anubis. And she'll take a feather out of her head, ostrich feather, which is a symbol, or which represents the concept of Mayat, the feather. She takes the feather, put it on one end of the balance, takes your heart or your soul or your spirit, she puts it on another end of the balance. Alright? She actually recites the 42 codes of Mayat, 42 admonitions of Mayat, 42 declarations of innocence, that's what they're referred to as that. And with each statement, your soul is being weighed. Soul is being weighed. Now, if at some point an imbalance creates, that means your heart is heavy, that means you've engaged in some form of imbalance or evil or whatever during your time on earth, you will be sent to hell. And if not, you will be sent to heaven. And that pretty much in a very oversimplified, really quick and dirty way is the story of Anu. But I'm going to show you some more aspects of the story. So this is Anu. Let's get to the next one, please, Jeff. Right? And then we got Anubis' parents, Osiris and Nephthys. Right? This is Osiris, Lord of the underground, underworld, Lord of death, but in a good way. This is his wife. And that is their child, Anubis. Next. Right? This is just more pictures of Anu. There are all kinds of depictions. And this is obviously a male Anubis. Yep. Next. Okay. This symbolizes Anubis taking your soul and placing you down for Mayat to come get you. This is just other images of that, particularly with the balance. Feather, soul. Feather, soul. Next. Right? It's Anubis again, it's another depiction. That's my eye. That's my eye. That's Amet. I'm gonna talk. That's Amet. That's who you go to if you go to hell. Next, right? This is my eye. She brings your soul to my eye. She brings your soul to my eye. Next, just other depictions. Other depictions. Next, right? These are the 42 admonitions. Obviously, they're only 13. I don't want to put them all on, but they go something like this: I have not done Isfet. Isfet is wrong or evil. We'll talk about it in a second. It is the opposite of Mayat. Right? Like yin and yang, that's where it comes from. Mayat and Isfet, or Mayat and what's called Mayafa. Right? And then other cultures throughout the world create their own versions of it. Okay. So, but for instance, I have not done Isfet. I have not stolen. I have not, this is what you're saying in front of the balance. I have not been covetous. I have not robbed. I have not killed people. I have not reduced the requirements of the temple. I have not done fraudulent things. I have not stolen, and then the balance is gone. I have not stolen the property of God. I have not told lies. I have not taken away food. I have not been ill-tempered. I have not transgressed. I have not killed sacred cattle, so forth and so on. This is what you say in front of the balance. Right? Interestingly enough, you know, Greece, the Greeks, the Romans, other Europeans studied a lot in the universities and colleges of ancient Africa. Some folk would argue, if you look at traditional timelines, it's in ancient Africa at the very latest, is probably about 10 to 13,000 BC, or extends back to 10 to 13,000 BC. And ultimately they would argue that it probably began around 9,000 BC or 6,000 BC, what we understand to be Egypt and ancient Africa. I am African-centered scholars, people who really take this stuff seriously, probably going to argue that ancient Africa, in the African-centered way of thinking about this, probably been around at least 100,000, 200,000 years. Sounds kind of crazy, but that's what they argue. John Anthony West, which is a popular white Egyptologist, would argue that he can prove that ancient Egypt began as far as back as 34,000 BC. This is a white guy saying that. Right? Ultimately, the 10 Commandments, they come from the 42 codes of Ma'at. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not rob. So with them studying in the universities, with them studying in the colleges, so forth and so on, they studied and they took our stuff seriously. I'm talking about Europeans. And then they incorporated and they adopted that into their system. Next, this is who you go to, Amet. This is the devil. This is the devil. That's who will devour your soul if you don't get it right during this life. Next. Right? That's Amet waiting at the balance now. That's my eye. That's new. Amet is saying, come in now. I'm hungry. You know? And but this is a different depiction with them all, with all three. And so Anubis now. Osiris. Osiris is who you go to, as well as Nephthys is who you go to. This is what Osiris looks like. And this is probably one of those the core image of Osiris, if you will. That's who you go to if you've done right.